Hey everybody, it is Monday night and I got David McNiner. It's Culp and McNiner show tonight. So we're glad you're here. We got a special guest. We try to always have a special guest. And our guy is Amin the Dream. So if you haven't met him, here's your chance. He's a great guy. He's a big time 49er follower. He's got a content channel, YouTube channel. He's got a Twitter. There's a lot of different things that he does. He's very interactive in the community. So um, let's get started. David, how's your day today? And I'm sorry, I'm all tongues today. Let me ask David, and then I'm going to go to me. How are you doing today, David?
I'm doing great. It's a much better Monday than last time. I didn't have the full guy, back into my car. So it's much better than last Monday. Yes, for sure.
Yep, I'm doing good. Obviously, glad to be on with you two
It's much
gentlemen.
better than last Monday.
So yep, I'm doing good. Pleasure to be on. And
Sorry
it's
about
also
that.
summer, so can't complain.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
that's right. You're out of school, huh? For the summer?
Yep, yep.
Sweet. Not to mention, folks, Amin is he has the best hair of any 49er content creator on YouTube. Yep.
Yes, yep, yep. We were talking about that the other night. We were just saying, it's like I was going to try to do something a little bit different, but there's only so much you can do with this amount of hair right now. And I told David to get pretty too, so we both did as best as we could. But we're here. But I mean, yeah, dude, you definitely keep rocking that. We've heard it from other
Thank
people
you.
too. I think Raj from RS 49ers, I think he said it as well. He used to have the hair in high school, but you got it now, so you just keep it up, man. So, all right. I mean, we wanted to bring you on because obviously we want to talk 49ers. We wanted to find out a little bit about yourself and just your thoughts kind of in general about the franchise moving forward. It's the dead period of time, but there's also a lot of good time to go back and reflect on things that's happened. So let's any direction really you want to go, we can go forward or backwards. If you want, we can start with the NFC Championship game. Where were you at? Do you remember what you're eating? Do you remember how you felt when you seen Brock get hit? Your thoughts of Josh Johnson?
I felt helpless in that game because obviously when Brock Purdy went down, you see Josh Johnson come in. He's obviously not doing so great, and you obviously just feel helpless. And especially as a Niners fan, right, who haven't witnessed Super Bowls before, like the last 3 years, making it to the NFC Championship game, coming so close each and every time, and at least in the previous year when we played the Rams, we were at least able to compete in that game with Jimmy Garoppolo, and we had a chance. Once Brock Purdy got hurt and Josh Johnson came in and he was struggling, then he has a concussion, and you have no more quarterbacks. You pretty much knew the game was over at that point. So you kind of just felt helpless, especially when it's the biggest game of the season. And I do remember what I was eating. I was actually eating some nachos, had some strawberry soda, was enjoying the game in the first quarter. Was kind of upset. The Eagles scored that touchdown that might have been an incompletion, but Kyle Shanahan didn't challenge on that Devontae Smith catch. On I think it was fourth down, and they converted and scored a touchdown. But then once Brock Purdy got hurt, I was like, okay, this game it's over. It was tough. It was tough, but at least I had me some good food, but it was definitely still a tough loss.
So since we kind of, you kind of touched on it, you and me and David, well, we all have different age groups here. I've been lucky enough to see three Super Bowls in my life that, you know, that I wasn't in diapers for, right? And David was able to see a couple more Super Bowls than that. I think you've seen all five, if I'm correct. And
I've seen four. I was pretty young for the first one.
okay,
Man,
and
I'm
then
jealous. I'm jealous right now. I'm sitting with some veterans who witnessed some
and then
49ers Super Bowls.
so were you able to witness the Kaepernick Super Bowl?
No,
That's the
I
one.
was still too young for that one.
Okay, so that was going to be my question: is which team would you, which one hurts more? Like for me right now, it's the Ravens because that one stung hard. And that one got in there deep. We hadn't been to the Super Bowl for a very long time. We get success, we get there, And the game was really crazy. There was a lot of bad calls to begin with. There was a blown offensive line call, I think, at the beginning of the game that put us in a punt situation. Then the Ravens scored on us very quickly. They started dominating. Then the power went out, and then the Niners were able to start slowly coming back. So some people speculate and say that the game was rigged because the power went out, and that could potentially be, but we didn't win the game. And for us to have 5 Super Bowls and then go as long as we did and finally make it, and then we lose, and we lost the way we did. You guys see the Moody jersey in the background. I like special teams. So for the punter to run out of bounds to cause a safety, because they knew if we would have got that ball back, we would have had a great chance of going back. And again, really quickly, they tried Michael Crabtree 4 times in the end zone when you could have given it to somebody like Frank the Tank, who had the big explosive run to get down to the end of the field. So that one hurts a lot. And then, getting to see the Ravens Super Bowl, that one hurt. But moving on to the Chiefs Super Bowl, that one's a little bit fresher. And I just, at a certain point in the game, I seen them give it up. Where the Super Bowl with the Ravens, they were fighting the whole game to get back to to win it. Where the Jimmy G Super Bowl and the Kittle, they had great plays. There was the play in the second quarter where and there was a push off, but they didn't. The guys, they are winning and they felt confident at a certain point. And I don't know if they felt overconfident at a certain point, but they didn't fight for that. They should have been like, no, that wasn't, that was a bad call. They should have been maybe a little bit more aggressive, because then they come back out and we were only winning by 10 points. Your defense starts scoring in the end zone and celebrating in the end zone. And that's when Kansas City's fire was lit. And then, again, we can say bad calls. We can say quarterbacks closed their eyes, overthrew wide receivers, open wide receivers. We changed the play calls from passes to runs or vice versa. But again, the Ravens Super Bowl stings the most for me. And that was kind of my question is if you could have, but I know since you said you didn't see that one so much.
I do remember that Super Bowl, though.
If you could, so then let's change the question. If you could pick out of the 7 Super Bowl games that we've had, and you could rematch against any opponent, who would you rematch against? We have played the Broncos. We played the Broncos.
See, I don't know about back. Yep. Broncos.
Okay, so we played
Bengals.
Yep,
Bengals twice.
Miami. Okay.
San Diego.
The Chargers. We've almost
San
played
Diego. San Diego.
Yeah.
Okay, if I had to pick a Super Bowl to play again, it would be San Diego, because we blew out San Diego. And that year we had Deion Sanders. But then Deion Sanders and Jerry Rice had their little feud. And, obviously Deion went to the Cowboys the next year. But if I had to pick any Super Bowl, it would be that San Diego one, because we completely blew them out. But can I answer your original question about the Baltimore Kansas City Super Bowl? Anytime you make it to the finish line and you fall short, especially when you make it to the Super Bowl, which is basically the finish line, and you fall short and you don't win, obviously it sucks. But the reason why, and this might be a little bit biased, but the reason why I would choose the Kansas City Super Bowl just a little bit more than the Ravens Super Bowl is because the Ravens Super Bowl, we were losing. And then, obviously the power went out, and then we started making a little bit of a comeback, right? But even if they pulled off the comeback, it would be like, wow, we did it, but we weren't winning in the first place. So it would be spectacular if we made that comeback and we won the game. I don't agree with what they did in the goal line, giving it to Michael Crabtree 4 times. And then we obviously know what happened in Seattle, and Richard Sherman had this iconic interview, and they tried to go to Michael Crabtree again in the end zone, and then Richard Sherman has this infamous interview where he's like, I'm the best corner in the game. So obviously you could have given the ball to Frank Gore in the red zone. Didn't decide to do that. But the Kansas City Super Bowl, the reason why it hurts just a little bit more is because you were up in that game. You honestly should have won that game. When you're up 20-10, you even get an interception on top of that, which can extend the lead maybe to 3 possessions. You can extend the lead, and you do that whole little celebration. And then, like you said, Bryant, the Chiefs, they used that, and they got motivated by that. And then they came out and it was 31-20. And in 10 minutes, they scored 3 touchdowns and the game was over. And you were like, wait, we were winning. We were 10 minutes away. We played 30 minutes of great football. We were controlling the game. and you just had to play 10 more minutes of good football left, control the clock, and not give the ball to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, and you couldn't do that. So like in a Super Bowl where you're up and then you blow the lead, like you're ahead in the race, and then you end up blowing the lead and someone else wins. I mean, that obviously hurt. So unlike the Ravens Super Bowl where we weren't up, and if we made a comeback, it would be spectacular. Where in the Kansas City Super Bowl, we were up and we were 10 minutes away from having the sixth Lombardi Trophy, and we ended up falling short. So I would say the Kansas City Super Bowl would definitely be it for me.
David, same question. If you could pick out of the 7 Super Bowl appearances, seven games, who would you want to repeat? I think you said San Diego, but and then same thing. Which one stings the most? Is it Kansas City or is it Baltimore?
When it comes to repeat, I kind of want the Bengals because the whole Chris Collinsworth emotional damage. You know, I just want that to continue. I mean, it's been 30 plus years, man. Get over it. But when it comes to the one that stings the most, I'm with the men, the Chiefs. We were up 10 points, 7 minutes to go, you know, and we ended up losing the game. And there is a lot of, we started passing the ball, should have ran the ball. James Richard Garoppolo overthrew Emmanuel Sanders. If you watch the play, Emmanuel Sanders also let up a little bit. But, it comes down to more than just those plays. There was a whole game, you know, and that's the way I've always looked at it. It's not just one penalty. It's not just one play that loses the game because there's a whole game's worth of plays that could have gone better. So, I mean, this football team is good enough to the point where they can't let the referees or one play decide the game. And I honestly like our chances this year, especially our QB situation. Everyone seems to be talking about it, which I'm trying to refrain from talking about it. But, we don't know when Brock Purdy's coming back. We don't. We got old Sammy Sixth Sense, and him seeing ghosts going on there. And we got Trey Lance, who works with a good QB coach this offseason. And has he figured out the short to mid range throws? I hope so, because he opens up the playbook more than Brock Purdy does. And that's pretty much all I have to say about that. The long, deep passes that put Danny Gray in, take the top off the defense, open up everything underneath. And that would even open up lanes for the run game, So having a fantastic offense to go with this great defense would make us the team to beat.
Who was the wide receiver? It was in preseason. I think it was Trey Lance's first NFL preseason game. He threw it. I believe it was against Kansas City.
Trent Sherfield.
Thank you. And that's the type of explosion that we're looking for. So most definitely. Okay, I mean, we were talking a little bit the other day. Me and David do a lot. We go on other people's channels and we do a lot together. But we were talking about the running back situation. So currently, we got a couple good guys in camp. Do you want to give us any of your thoughts on who might get cut, who might stay, who might ride the bench, and maybe go to the practice squad? If we can keep anybody on the practice squad.
Obviously, Christian McCaffrey's a stay. Elijah Mitchell's on the roster. But one guy that I want to see get reps, or at least get game reps, is Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason is a guy who came in last year in times where, obviously he didn't get that many snaps, but in the snaps that he played, he was a physical runner, and every time he touched the ball, there would be times where he would get stuffed in the backfield and fight for 3 to 4 extra yards, and that's the type of stuff that I like to see out of a running back. And Jordan Mason, that one game in Seattle, he had that big long run. I think he also got the touchdown in the red zone and finished off that drive. But Jordan Mason is a guy that I think that's super talented. That obviously we have Christian McCaffrey. He's going to get utilized. He's RB1. We have Elijah Mitchell. Who knows his status going into, obviously, the next offseason? Because is he going to stay on the team? is Jordan Mason going to get snaps this year? But Jordan Mason definitely has potential. And I think Jordan Mason, going back to last season, you saw, kind of some sparks. Obviously, he's not going to be RB1 because of Christian McCaffrey, but I would definitely love to see Jordan Mason get some more snaps because I love the potential that he has, and I think he can add another layer to this running back core because he is a physical runner. So definitely want to see Jordan Mason get the ball more.
So I kind of get the feeling that TDP might be on the way out, in your opinion, maybe?
Potentially. I mean, you look at what the Niners do the last couple of years in their drafts, like Trey Sermon, I didn't get that pick because you drafted Elijah Mitchell. I think obviously people say that's the Kyle Shanahan pick. And even going back to, Ty Davis Price, I don't remember who I wanted over Ty Davis Price. But then you went out and, obviously signed Jordan Mason, and you hear the things about him in camp going back to last year. So, like, for some reason, the Niners have this obsession, or Kyle has this obsession of drafting running backs in the third round that are kind of useless for this team. Like Jordan Mason, when he came in, and not Jordan Mason, Ty Davis Price, and I'm not going to bash him as a player, but when I saw him on the field, nothing really impressed me about Ty Davis Price. Nothing really impressed me about Trey Sermon in the one game that he did get. It wasn't anything like, whoa, okay, he has some potential or there might be something there. Same thing with Ty Davis Price. Now, obviously, it's early, but in watching Jordan Mason in the limited snaps, who's not RB1 on this team, who's not RB2 on this team, but if he got opportunities, I think could be a potential RB1 for another team in the league because I believe in that potential. But with Ty Davis Price, a third round pick, I didn't really see something in the limited snaps. I didn't really see something from him. Now that could change this year. Obviously Christian McCaffrey has had injuries in the past, so you never know with Christian McCaffrey. And then Elijah Mitchell also, last year he also got banged up in the beginning of the year. So TDP, Trey Sermon, these third round running backs the Niners haven't really panned out and haven't really shown me anything, even in the limited snaps that they've gotten, that have really shocked me. Where, like I said, with Jordan Mason, who's a running back 3 on this team as of right now, in the limited snaps that he's gotten, the limited opportunities, has shown me some flashes and potential. So TDP, if he's gone, honestly, I honestly wouldn't mind because I think the Niners are more than capable with the guys that they have right now to be successful, running the football.
So I love it. I really do, because I don't see TDP or Trey Sermon, obviously they're third round backs, third round draft picks, and they seem like they're not getting used or they're getting traded off. We were potentially talking about maybe Elijah Mitchell maybe making the trade, or maybe being one of the guys left out because of his health status. But I agree. I think we got a couple guys in rookie, coming out, that like a Watt. There's a couple good guys coming out, and then we still have Juice. And then, what are your thoughts on the Florida guy? Not the Florida guy, the Oregon guy. I'm so sorry, Jake Colito, the ultimate weapon. He's like Mr. I can do it all.
I'm gonna be honest, I've never heard of him, so I'm gonna be honest. No slight
No,
to.
that's fine. So
But
he was one of our undrafted free agents, and we got him from Oregon. So he's a Duck. And he plays like linebacker, he plays tight end, he plays fullback, he played quarterback. I mean, the guy just plays any position because he wants to be a football player. But he's really good. He's really, really good. So there's a potential possibility that he makes, like the backup spot to fullback, So it's just, fingers crossed for me because I kind of like the guy. But all right, David, let me pass it to you. And if you'd like to ask Amin or even me any questions, because again, you're here, you're my co-host, and got
I do
Amin
have
here.
some questions for you. After David goes, I do have questions for both of you.
Perfect.
So the tight end situation. We draft Cameron Latou, we draft Braden Willis. Are Charlie Warner and Ross Dwellies going to be in the unemployment line?
That's intriguing. That's actually very interesting that you pointed that out.
Yeah, I would gonna agree. Ross Dwelly, out of the two, he might potentially stay on the team, but I think they drafted the two rookie guys. I think they're going to be moving on. I think there's somebody like Juice who can do the same thing. Jake Colito, if he does make the team, and then we have a multiple wide receivers that can potentially run out there and pass. So if these two rookies that we got can block, I think the other three, because was Craycroft, who was the one who was on the play who got Purdy hurt, and then we should add Charlie Warner in there probably blocking. So for whatever reason he was in there blocking, so maybe he's already off the team in their minds. And then Ross Dwelly, he's good on special teams, but that's the only time I ever see him really doing anything because they don't really throw him the ball. He's supposed to be able to catch really well, but he's not explosive at running, so they don't try him. So I don't see him continuing to be on the team.
Ross Dwelly is a good pass catcher, but in terms of blocking, he lacks. And then the thing about Charlie Warner isn't that great of a pass catcher, but he's a much better blocker than Ross Dwelly. So you look at the two guys that they did draft, Cameron Ladu, and I forgot the other one that they drafted from Oklahoma.
Braden
Willis, right? I liked the Braden Willis pick because I thought it was good value at where you got him. The Cameron Ladu pick, there was an offensive tackle from Ohio State that the Browns drafted like a round later who was a projected first round pick or second round pick who was an offensive lineman that the Niners could have drafted instead of Cameron Ladu. And I think there was a cornerback, Kele Ringo, who's now on the Philadelphia Eagles, who, because you lost Emmanuel Mosley, you could have had him and he could have been a solid cornerback for you, and he could have potentially, if any of your cornerbacks got hurt this year, could have come in and filled and played some snaps for you if the Niners had any injuries at the cornerback position. But the thing is, if Cameron Ladu and either Braden Willis can be average pass catchers, because you obviously have George Kittle, and can be good blockers, I mean, if you could do both and you could be at least decent at both, whereas the guys that we currently have on this team, the second, the backup tight ends in Ross Dwelly and in Charlie Warner, those guys are either good at one thing and okay at the other, and the other guy is good at blocking, and while he's not that great of a pass catcher. So if your rookie tight ends can be at least decent or average at both, and they pretty much get that spot at the backup tight end. And obviously we know George Kittle, if he could stay healthy, he's a monster. But yeah, I could potentially see a Ross Dwelly or Charlie Warner get cut from the 53-man roster, because if those two tight ends can step up, I definitely think those guys have a much better shot at making the roster.
David, you got another question?
No, I'm good for now.
All right, I have a question for let me start it off with David. So you live in Utah, right?
Yes, sir.
So how did you become a Niners fan in Utah? Because I have a cousin from Utah, and I heard Utah doesn't really watch football much outside of college, but I know majority of people in Utah are Mormons, and they go to church on Sunday, and obviously Utah does not have a football team. And my cousin has told me this. I'm like, how come you've never watched football? I asked him this question. I'm like, how come you don't really get into football? And he was like, because we're, people in Utah are Mormons. They go to church on Sunday. Every shop is closed. Everything is closed on Sunday. We do not have time for football on Sunday. So that's why Utah does not have a football team. That's why I don't really care about football. He loves the Utah Jazz, but he's like, that's why I don't care about football. So how did you, out of all teams, become a 49ers fan, and what made you get into football, especially living in Utah?
Well, like you said, pretty much everything cool is closed on Sunday. So I would just sit home and watch football. And when I was a kid, it was the 49ers on every week. It was Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Ronnie Lott, and I fell in love, and it was about the 1984 season, what was it? Yeah, the Super Bowl we played in early 85 for the 84 season. That's what got me hooked right there. But when it comes down to it, there are a lot of Mormons here. That's true. But the population lately has been growing where, it's probably a 55-45 split right now, and I mean 45 being Mormon. When it comes to the fans, it's all over the place. There's a lot of 49ers fans, there's Denver Broncos fans because, Colorado's right next door to us. But you look at everyone's bumper stickers, window stickers, jerseys, sweaters. You see every team representative. We actually even have a couple Lions fans around here. It's rare, but we do.
And Bryant, for a question for you is, okay, so obviously there's people on Niners Twitter and a lot of NFL fans in general. They don't really care about special teams. They don't really care about kickers. But you're the one guy. You're the one guy that kickers are people too. And I see the jersey in the back, the Jake Moody jersey. But why do you love special teams and kickers so much? Like, I'm dying to know. Because, like, when I'm watching football, like, I might go grab a snack when Robbie Gould is kicking, an extra point or a field goal. I'm like, all right, let's go grab a snack. Robbie Gould's probably going to make it. If it's inside the 40, he's probably got it. But why do you love kickers and special teams so much?
Okay, so first thing when I started playing football, I wanted to emulate, Steve Young. The only thing I wasn't was left-handed. I was right-handed, but I'd try to run around in the street or the grass like him and throw it to my good buddy, or my brother Mark at the time, and whoever was out there on the, playing football with me, street football, right? Backyard football. I was at one time, I think, probably the best quarterback on the block. There was maybe 10 guys, 10 kids on the block. And I thought, hey, I'm pretty good, right? Well, moved to a different block. Still had really good friends on the block. Still thought I was a really good quarterback. Went to high school. Never played Pop Warner in my life. Never really heard about what a Caden was. I knew what, I've heard about it, but I didn't know terminology. So I get to high school and I'm in training camp and they're calling out different things and saying things, and I'm trying to play, quarterback. So I ended up making third string quarterback, and I'm like, hey, that's not bad. I still felt like I was capable and smart enough to know the playbook, and I just needed a little bit of practice time. And me being about 5 foot at the time, I'm 5'7" now. I'm not very tall, but with the other quarterbacks being, maybe 4 inches taller than me at the time, this is freshman football. It just was one of those things. They're like, well, you're the shortest guy, so you're the third guy. So if you haven't seen me before, I do have a personalized number 3 jersey because that's my jersey number. And I am a third string guy. And I'm like, okay, well, if I can't start, I can be as smart about the team as possible and be, paying attention and stuff, right? And maybe I'll get my chance, right? So I did get to play in a couple games, which was fun at quarterback. I didn't do horrible, but I didn't do, well enough to start either. I only got put in because the starter shoulder got popped out. He had a chronic issue where, every once in a while his arm would pop out of place. So before the game started, it happened on the bus. So the second string quarterback got to play almost the entire game. Then by the time the game was almost over, coach put me in. So that was my little highlight, but didn't get to pass the ball. It was just handoffs. But the reason I like special teams is because that was where I got to play. I got to play kicker. I got to start. And I was like, okay, I can do what I can do. And I can be the best at my abilities, right? I wasn't the fastest guy, but, I had heart. And I thought, with enough heart, I can make the football team, right? So I did make the football team, and I ended up I was the kicker for a good portion of the season. At the beginning of the season, they had a different kicker, and he could kick further than me, but he wasn't maybe the best sport. We could just say it like that. So midway through the season, the coach did a change up and put me at the field goal kicker. And he still got to kick off, so it kind of still like irked me a little bit. And it irked him that I was now the field goal kicker. So with me, like if you like pump me up and you're like, you can do it, Brian, and get me all like, yeah, I go out there and I start feeling myself, right? And I'm not that guy. I need to go in with like the world's against me, it's me against the world. I nobody's gonna believe in me. I got to go out and show you. So if you go in like say you can do it, Brian, you got it, right? I go out there with a smile on my face and I shank it, right? But if you're like you're not gonna make it, Brian, it's not. Well, I don't even know why you're on the team. I'll go out there and I'm gonna kick it right through the uprights. And I've done that multiple times. So in practice, my coaches would be like, Brian, you're doing it. You got it. You're the man, right? And then I'd be shanking it. And they'd ask, then walk off, and be like, this white boy can't even kick. And I got mad. And I kicked a 45-yarder in practice. And I was like, F you, I was Shouldn't I don't cuss or talk like that, especially when I was that age. But I was mad. I was like, you know what? You could take it. And I don't even, I had some words for the coach, and he's like, "That's what I want. I want to see you fight. I want to see the fire inside, right?" So I was a kicker, and my joke for special teams is like, if you want to win a Super Bowl, right, you have to have a special team, right? There's that big argument about offense wins, defense wins. For a long time, it was like, you have to have a defense that can get you there. Other people were like, no, that's an offense. And for a couple of years, it was just back and forth. For a long time, the NFC was the one who was just over the top of the AFC. And then things started changing. And that's probably when Tom Brady started winning Super Bowls. But he started winning Super Bowls because of his kicker. So again, special teams, you have to have a special team. And that's what I mean is you got to have a complete team, offense, defense, and you cannot forget about the kickers. Kickers and punters, they both mean something to the team. And it's like kickers, they can put points up there on the board. If you got a good punter, they can get you points. And how do they get you points? They put you in a position where your defense can come out there and either take the ball back, score, because they're pinning the other team back so far. So yes, we could go on and on and on. I love special teams. I really do. I think it's funny that the Raiders took Janikowski. Me and my dad, we were watching it at the time, and he likes kickers. I was in football at the time. He's like, look, Brian, and I was like, whoa, blown away. And shout out to Guy. He's the only punter in the NFL Hall of Fame, and he's a Raider. So thought that was really cool. So there's punters in the Hall of Fame too. So I just really like it. I really do. But
All right. So would you say you're a better kicker or a better quarterback?
well, you only have to kick once to be good, right? If you kick it and you make it, then you're okay, right? But if you got to throw it a couple of times and your wide receiver drops it, or there's you get sacked or something like that, or so there's those intangibles. But I can still throw the ball pretty good, and I can still kick it pretty good. I'm not I haven't been throwing or kicking recently. Me and my daughters, we've been going to basketball to the park down the street, and we've just been shooting hoops. But I'll get back out there here soon, start kicking it. I did have a story for David and the other guys a couple weeks ago. If you're familiar with Kezar Stadium, the 49ers' first stadium, it's in San Francisco, Golden Gate Park. Beautiful place. If you get to go, you can walk right into the stadium. Usually they have the gates open, and it's a track. People, usually run around and jog, and it's really pretty. So they got like a little nice sign on the field that says keep off the grass. Well, I had my ball and I had my kicking tee, and I run out there and I attempted, and I'm going to keep it modest and humble. And we're not going to say if I made it or not, but I got to kick on a 49er field, and we're just going to keep it like that. So, Amin, did you
You're
play
not
any
going to say
sport?
if you shanked it?
Oh, I shanked it. We'll just be honest. I shanked it, but it went off the ground. It went off the ground. I'm going to do it again here soon. About 2 years ago, I went to San Francisco for my birthday, and we went to the beach and just threw the ball around. Might try to make it to Golden Gate Park, this year, but we'll see what happens. Definitely see. So, all right. I mean, any sports that you played in high school? Pop Warner, Little League, anything like that? Karate?
I mean, I used to say kung fu when back to when I was like 6. I was okay at it. I made it far. Like I got my like purple belt, and then eventually like it just was too time consuming, and then I had to stop that. But kung fu was cool. But my first love was actually basketball. Like basketball when I was younger, just going to the park, shooting hoops, and even now, like now that I am on the high school basketball team, I'm not great. I'm gonna be honest, right? Like I'm not amazing, but you know. We go out to the park every day and we try to practice and get better. But basketball is my first true love. But then during COVID, like I started playing football more, and like whenever I hang out with my cousins, like I'll just play street football with them because they have like their neighborhood, and we'll just go and we'll play football. And so I do like to play quarterback. I would say I'm a decent quarterback. Whenever we do play football in PE, I am the quarterback. I am the primary quarterback. Now it definitely it's hard playing quarterback. I will say it's definitely hard, and like people say, quarterback's the most important position on the field. Like you could have a great game, and then you could have this day where you come out and you just completely suck, and you're missing every pass, and you're like, whoa, what happened. So quarterback is definitely a hard position, but I've always loved football. I do play. I used to play flag football when I was younger, and I was in the league, and I used to play flag football. And the funny thing is, like my cousins, I also got them to join the league. So me and my cousins, we would play flag football together. And I didn't. I always wanted to compete against my cousin, who was like similar to my age. So I would always want to compete against him. And I was like, I don't want to be on the same team as you. That's gonna be no fun. Like I'd rather go out and try to beat you. So that was my goal for one season, and we actually made it really far. But it turns out my uncle ended up becoming the defensive coordinator for my cousin's team. So it was me against my uncle, who is a defensive coordinator, and obviously him seeing me play street football, he knows what I like to do. He knows where I look, what like right side, left side. He knows what my preferred side to look like. He just knew what my strengths and weaknesses are. So we make it all the way to the championship, and it's my team against my cousin's team. And my cousin's team, obviously, my uncle being my defensive coordinator, like I kind of had like a Dak Prescott Niners game last season where like we were competitive, but I had some interceptions, and we ended up losing that final to my uncle, who was a defensive coordinator, and it obviously stung. It obviously stung, and he started laughing after. He's like, I know what you like to do. It was simple, but I mean, yeah, football is obviously something that I love, and I love to play. And whenever I go, to my cousin's house, or whenever they come here, we definitely go out and we play football, and even basketball. I love playing basketball. So those are the two sports that I probably like the most: basketball and football. So
Do you have a jersey number?
I don't remember what my jersey number was. Basketball right now, my jersey number is 23, which the expectations are high when your jersey number is 23. So,
Mm-hmm.
yep.
That's what I was going to ask is are you like a guy with numbers? Or do numbers matter? Like you just said it, 23 is Michael Jordan, one of the greatest players ever. I like CMC wearing 23 now because I think he can do that. 22, that's okay. Leave that in Carolina.
Yeah.
But that 23, that looks 23 in red. Ooh, and or red and white, just like Michael Jordan almost. I mean, like, oh my gosh. So I definitely like that. Okay, I mean, so have you heard the phrase bird hunting?
No.
Okay, so have you gotten a chance to look at the 49er season this year?
Their schedule?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I haven't looked at it in depth, but I do know who they're playing. Like I have a sense of who they're playing this year.
Okay, without being technical, because I don't have the schedule pulled up in front of me, David, if you want to pull it up, that'd be great.
I could pull it up. I could pull it up right now.
So yeah, let's go ahead and do
I was
that.
actually, I have kind of a sad note before we do this. So
Okay.
prime time, Deion Sanders. He is the Colorado
David.
Buffaloes head coach, right? And he has blood circulation in his left foot problems. And he's currently facing getting it amputated. So everyone pray for Deion. We hope it doesn't happen, and he's able to walk around like normal. And that's pretty much all I got.
Yeah. He currently had 2 toes already amputated, so he has 8 toes, but he still doesn't have circulation or feeling in his foot. So he has currently collapsed arteries in his leg that they're trying to hope opens back up. And if they can't, then their next option will be amputation. It's just really sad. Somebody with, feet like Deion's or, wheels like Deion is in this position where, he definitely needs Mr. Fix-It-Flat right now. So definitely pray for Deion.
I mean, looking at people like Deion, obviously a legend, and the funny thing is, like, Deion was a cornerback, but then he would also play punt returner for the Falcons. Like, that's just how athletically gifted Deion was, and then he also moved over to play baseball. But like, even when you look at like going back to now in contract negotiations, look at sometimes what athletes do, and sometimes it might be unprofessional, right? Like post things on social media, unfollow their teams on social media when they're in contract discussion. But then when you look at what these athletes go through, especially when playing football, by the time their career is over. Like I remember looking at a picture of Calvin Johnson's hands, and how some of his fingers were like messed up and bent, and all sorts of stuff, and you look at what these athletes go through to play football, and when you look at that, and then you see what they do in their contract negotiations and things like that, like obviously sometimes certain things might be, a little bit too far, and sometimes players go a little bit too far, but you understand when you look at like a story like Deion Sanders, who obviously prayers up to Deion, such, the best cornerback of all time, Hall of Famer, legend. When you speak of football and you speak of defense, Deion Sanders' name automatically pops up to your mind, guys like Lawrence Taylor, but you understand players' mindset when in contract negotiations and certain things like that, when you look at, especially after their career is over, sometimes the injuries and things that they go through, especially when playing football and the after effect of playing football. So, looking at this Dion story and just like, as like I said, the Calvin Johnson, looking at his hands after his NFL career, for example, like when players go through contract negotiations, sometimes like I learned to understand sometimes the extent why they go through the extent that they go to, because football takes a toll on your body.
Yes, it does.
Yep, Dewan Jones. Thank you. Dewan Jones is the player that they drafted Cameron Latu, and Dewan Jones, Ohio State offensive lineman, fell. What should have been a first or second round pick, fell all the way to the third round, and you drafted. I keep forgetting his name. Tight end Oklahoma.
Cameron Latu. Cameron Latu.
That was the Alabama one. I'm talking about the Oklahoma one. The Oklahoma tight end.
Oh, that was in the 7th round though. We
I
got
know, no, but that's the thing though. They drafted a tight end in the 7th round. You already got that in the 7th round. Where that's the thing.
yes.
My issue with the Cameron Latu pick wasn't necessarily the player. It was that you could have used that cap. You could have used that pick, and used that on a position of need, which is offensive lineman. Who, who knows what this Niners offensive line will be. But you lose a guy like McGlinchey, and I would have never paid McGlinchey $90 million. That's not what I'm saying, but you lose McGlinchey. Your offensive line is young. You have, Spencer Burford who has to come in. Who knows what he'll be next season. Your offensive line is younger. You lose Daniel Brunskill. So if you went out and got a guy like Dewan Jones, who was projected to be a first or second round pick in the 3rd round, when you were probably planning to draft a tight end 7th, or, whatever, you could have used that draft pick and utilized it better for a position of need. So that's my issue with that Cameron Latu pick. Is not necessarily the player. It's just I felt like that pick could have been better allocated on a position of need.
Yeah, Blake Freeland from BYU was still on the board too. Both
Yep.
of them were there.
Yeah.
So, do you
I,
guys believe what they're talking about when they were saying, before we get into the bird hunt talk, but because it's been brought up a couple times, that they were saying when they were looking at this year's draft, because we don't have a first round or second round or even really a 3rd round, these are comp picks that we got. They said they started looking at the guys at the bottom that they thought that would still be there. And then they started keeping going up and hoping that this is what they're going to get. So the reason they went ahead and got Jake Moody at 99, and you guys see the jersey back there. So, again, I'm not banging my hand hard or anything. We already got him. But the reason they've come out and said it is the special teams coach said, that's who I want. I don't care when you get him. That's who I want. So they made it a point to get him at 99. So we had picked 99, 101, and 102. They used 101 and traded up to get our safety is corner, Mr. Brown, right?
safety.
Jair
Brown,
Yeah.
our safety.
So that was kind of like, whoa, nobody expected them to do that. So that must have been one of those things. They're like, oh, wow, we can snatch him. So we'll just leave 99 alone because that's our plan. And then we're going to go ahead and just snatch Brown real quick. And then we'll figure out the rest. And the reason they stuck at 99 is there were people that were trying to move up to get Jake Moody. There were. And whether or not, we say it's the best pick or it's the best player at that position, there was enough teams that were saying he's a hot enough commodity right now. That's the guy right now. Right now, that's the guy. So they took him off the board. And that's why we got him. Later in the rounds, like David said, we did get another tight end. We did get offensive tackles undrafted, and we did pick up other players, like I said, Jake Colito, a potential fullback or universal Swiss Army knife. So I like their mentality. I think we'll just have to see if some of these players pan out, because again, is anybody here mad that they didn't take a running back in the 3rd round? because I really wanted him to
No.
take a running back, right? So,
No.
I mean, all right. So, I mean, you got the schedule pulled up.
Yep.
All right. So, if you look at the middle of the schedule, so first off, overall, if you want to give us your basic, no receipts, I'm going to definitely write them all down. No, if you want to give us your record prediction for, what you think going into the season, just looking at, I've already said mine a couple times. I think we're going to go 15-2, and David's in between 14-3 and 13-4. So if you want to, it's just again humble prediction, but then we'll get into this bird hunt.
See, I'm gonna be humble about this. I'm gonna go at least 11 to 12 wins. My only reason why I'm not going higher, and I think the Niners could be a 14-15 team win team this year, is that I don't know about that quarterback position. I don't know about injuries, and I also, on top of that, going back to every year that the Niners have had these successful runs, they've dropped games they should have won, and because of that, like going back to last year, you should have beaten the Denver Broncos, you should have beaten the Atlanta Falcons, you should have been a number one seed, or if not a number one seed last year, because you lost games where you were favored, and then you beat teams that that were a little bit better, or that were playoff teams that you necessarily weren't favored in some matchups. So going into this year, looking at that quarterback position, is it going to be Brock Purdy? Is it going to be Trey Lance? Is Brock Purdy going to be able to play this year? Is it going to be Sam Darnold? Right? And then on top of that, my biggest concern going into this year is that one thing that I've noticed, besides outside of last year, is that the Niners, we obviously know, deal with injuries. Every team deals with injuries. But before this year, 2022 and 2021, we've had two back-to-back healthy years. But before that, there was a little bit of a pattern where 2017, obviously, you were rebuilding. 2018, obviously, Jimmy G tears his ACL. 2019, you have this Super Bowl run, obviously come short. And then what happens in 2020? Your team is depleted with injuries. Everybody gets hurt. And then 2021 and 2022, you have a healthy season back to back. Obviously, your team still dealt with injuries, but your team was able to stay healthy back to back years. So going into this year, can this Niners team stay healthy 3 years in a row? And that's a question mark that I don't know if they'll be able to. And obviously, I'm hoping that they will. And obviously, football, teams get hurt and players get hurt. But can this Niners team be healthy for 3 years in a row and not lose, key guys like we have in the past? So that's obviously a concern. And then quarterback. I don't know who's going to be quarterback. I'm obviously hoping it's going to be Trey Lance starting week one, unless Brock Purdy makes this miraculous recovery and is ready to go week one and he's ready to start. But I want to see Trey Lance get an opportunity. And the biggest thing for me is that obviously I might have a preference, and I've said this before. I might have a preference on who I want as quarterback on this team. But first, I'm a Niners fan. At the end of the day, I'm a Niners fan first. And the biggest thing for me is that whoever plays quarterback, even if it's Sam Darnold, right? Whoever plays quarterback, I just want this Niners team to be, you know, explosive on offense in a way, and to be effective on offense and efficient on offense. Because one of the reasons, there's a multitude of reasons why we lost the Super Bowl to the Kansas City Chiefs, but you look at when the Niners have had these deep playoff runs, it was mainly surrounded by the defense. The defense has been great. It's led by the defense, and the offense is kind of okay. Like, the offense is okay to just it's just average. The offense is average, but going back to last year, the offense wasn't average. And I make this bold claim is that if we had last year's offense mixed with the 2019 defense, I think the Niners beat the Kansas City Chiefs team. Because last year's offense was the best we've ever seen it with Brock Purdy under center. They were putting up like 30 points per game. They were averaging 30 points per game. So that offense with that 2019 defense, I think they would have probably had a pretty good shot at beating Patrick Mahomes, especially if you were up 20-10. I think that offense could have scored some more points, and I think you could have closed out that game. But you never know. You never know, but I think we would have had a much better shot with last year's offense. So whoever's at quarterback, the offense has to be effective. It has to be efficient. And if it is that, on top of this team staying healthy in the defense, I think this team can definitely have the ceiling to win 13, 14, even potentially 15 games. But because of the uncertainties and because the Niners lose easy games, they drop one or two easy games every year, I'm gonna go with confidently. I'll say 11 to 12 wins. Confidently. That's the
All right.
floor. That's the floor.
That's the floor. All right, love it because there's always the ceiling, and that's why I'm like 15-2. That's just what I'm confident in. I feel, like I'm just I got a good feeling about it. We could do worse, but I don't want to think that way. We could run the table, but I'm just that's my floor, 15-2. I think we got a good team this year. So if you're looking at the schedule right now, if anybody in the chat's looking at, and thank you everybody in the chat, you guys have been great trying to catch up with your comments, but we appreciate you. We are seeing you. Shout out to my girl Tony in there telling everybody hello. Please hit the like button, subscribe, and please, if you don't know Amin, please join his YouTube channel and subscribe to his channel there. And my guy up here, David McNiner. But with the bird hunt, if you guys pull up the schedule for the 49ers this season, if you don't have one printed out or if you want to look at it, we're going to talk about the middle of the season. Well, it's almost the end of the season, but we go on a 5-game bird hunt. I mean, I wasn't the first one to coin it. I think Brad from SF Niners said it first. I just think it's funny, and I just keep saying it. So do you remember the Nintendo game, Duck Hunt?
I'm probably not old enough for that.
Yeah,
So
he might not be old enough, but you
yeah.
missed out, dude. When it comes to old school video games, Duck Hunt was fun.
The only old school video game that I've played, and I don't know if it's on the same console, but it was like an old Nintendo, gray old Nintendo, and I played Tecmo Bowl. I mean retro. I don't know if it's Tecmo or Retro Bowl, whatever. I think that's what it's called, and I still play that from time to time. Lawrence Taylor is ridiculous in that game. Bo Jackson is fast as hell, also in that game. So I do. I'm pretty sure I do know what Duck Hunt is, but I've just never played it before.
So, yeah, I'm a little bit older. Dave's just a little bit older, but sometimes people are like, video game, that's what they're into, So I have a couple friends that's got like almost every console, and I'm like, you're crazy, right? Well, if I go and show you the 2 lightsabers I have, you're going to tell me I'm crazy, right? So everybody has something crazy they buy, right? Well, you seen the Jake Moody jersey back there? That's crazy. People don't buy that, right? So, yeah, I just it's just one of those things. So Duck Hunt was a video game for Nintendo. Nintendo was one of the first video game systems to come out, and then they went into Super Nintendo. But Duck Hunt was on the Mario game, and there was like 2 parts of the game. So you could either play Mario or you could play Duck Hunt. And when you first bought the console, it came with a gun, and then you could sit there. There used to be a little dog that would pop up, and you're not supposed to shoot the dog; you're supposed to shoot the birds and stuff. So yeah, Duck Hunt. We don't have any ducks in the NFL, but there's a couple teams that could be called Ducks, I think. But we're going to be playing like 5 teams in a row. I mean, I think the first one, I could be wrong. I think it's the Cardinals, if you want to list them out. But
Okay, so I have it. It's Seattle, right?
Seattle,
Yep.
okay, yes, Seattle, and then we play what, the Eagles, then we play Seattle again,
Seattle,
then
Mm-hmm.
Cardinals, and
Cardinals.
Ravens.
Yep. It's the
Yeah, just
sea
go read it.
chickens, the green chickens, the sea chickens, the red chickens, and the purple chickens. Yep, all in a row.
So with the 5 birds, 4 of those games are conference games, but with those games, what's your record going through that? Are you confident we're gonna take out some birds, or are you thinking we're gonna get? You've seen the movie The Birds with Alfred Hitchcock?
Nope.
Oh man, oh man. So there's this movie. It's called The Birds, and it's in Bodega Bay, and the birds attack this little town. So I definitely want the Niners to come out bird hunting and not get attacked. So again, what's your thoughts on this little bird hunt that we got going on? We're going to be playing
I
Thanksgiving.
think. Okay, first off, I love the Thanksgiving game because you don't know how Thanksgiving and football are like a tradition in my family. When you're sitting at Thanksgiving, you have the Sunday night game on, and usually the Sunday night game, I mean the Thursday and Thanksgiving games are usually really boring. Like I mean, last year Buffalo and Saints, like that was a blowout. But when the Niners are playing on Thanksgiving, obviously that's fun, especially against their rivals. Like I can't wait for Thanksgiving. But I think they get it done on Thanksgiving. I think they beat Seattle twice. I think they beat the Cardinals. But the 2 intriguing matchups are obviously the Eagles and then the Ravens. I think they beat Seattle twice, and I think they beat the Cardinals. So 3 wins. I think 3 wins is the floor. I mean, I think those are 3 games that are easy wins that you're favored again in. The Cardinals are a rebuilding team, and then Seattle, when Geno Smith plays, he's like a deer in headlights. He doesn't know what to do, and he struggles. So
Oh,
We lost Amin for a second.
might be
I'm
having
sure
some
he'll pop
internet
back.
issues. He'll be back. He'll be back.
We'll catch
But
up with
yeah,
the chat first.
not only the bird hunt though. So before the bird hunt, we have 2 games in a row that I'm calling the kitty trap because we got the Bengals and we got the Jaguars. Yep.
The kitty cat game. Oh man. Yeah, I think the bird hunt and the kitty cat game, there's definitely some games that it's gonna be fun. Callie Young brought up a point. He says there's definitely games we should win that we lose, and there's games that we should lose that we win. So hopefully we don't drop too many. I think that big game is gonna be the Steelers. I think if we start out fresh against the Steelers, oh man, throws my record out the window. The Steelers, it's like they've won their last 9 home openers in a row. They haven't lost a home opener since like 2014. So,
Well, it's at Pittsburgh too, though.
mhm.
It's tough to beat Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh, even if his team isn't that great. But the thing we have going for us is they got that young QB. Yeah, I think he started half a season for him last year. So he's going to
Mhm.
have those growing pains, and hopefully he's hurting against us.
Yeah, here we go. We got Amin coming back in, I think.
Sweet.
All right,
can you
no
guys hear
worries.
me?
Yes.
All right.
So yeah, we'll just keep on the same topic we were at. Thanksgiving game in Seattle. I'd love us to beat Seattle on Thanksgiving, but that one I'm definitely a little nervous about. And I think one of the worst things about that game, if I'm correct, that's the last game of the evening. So hopefully everybody can have turkey in the morning so they can eat, because I'm not going to want to eat watching that game. And if we lose, I'm not going to really want to eat. I'm just not going to have the stomach for it. I would love to see us have a turkey leg in the middle of the 50-yard line, but I'm going to make sure I eat before that game comes on.
I would love to sweep the Sea Chickens again, but they always seem to have a trick up their sleeve and when we go to Seattle. So I actually picked that one as a loss on a stream, I think month and a half, 2 months ago, something like that, when the schedule first came out.
My
Yeah.
question is it Seattle that has somewhat of an upper hand on the Niners when we go to Seattle, or is it Russell Wilson who beat the 49ers? Because last year we didn't have any problem with Seattle. And before my Wi-Fi was cutting out, I was saying Geno Smith is like a deer in headlights when he has to go up against this Niners defense. Like Geno looks like when you saw last year, some games Geno would look phenomenal. But when he played this Niners team, you're like, Geno Smith, he doesn't look that impressive against this Niners team. And obviously, this defense is one of the best in the league. So obviously, I would expect Geno to struggle a little bit, but he definitely struggles against this team. So I obviously think we beat Seattle. I don't know if we beat them twice, but those are 2 games that I think we should be able to win. We're favored in both of those matchups. And then the Cardinals, I think that should be a must-win game. Like you have to beat the Cardinals. The Cardinals suck. You can't lose to the Cardinals. But then
No.
the two interesting games are the Eagles and the Ravens. Those are the 2 games that are definitely kind of make you uneasy. Can the Niners really win this one? I would say they lose to Philadelphia in Philly. It's obviously you're playing in prime two back-to-back primetime games. I would say Philly. It'll be a close one, but I think we lose in Philly. But I do think we beat the Ravens. But I think we lose in Philadelphia. So I would say the floor is 3-2. If you lost to the Ravens, I would say the floor is 3-2, but the ceiling would be probably 4-1, or even five wins and 0 losses. Like I could see it go either way. But I think that Philadelphia game is a coin toss because I think it could go either way.
So my thoughts with the Eagle game is I just want the Niners to come in again and just they they haven't proven anything yet. They haven't won anything yet. They don't have anything, so they don't need to walk in and feel like they're the favorites. They are, even if they are the favorite, they need to remember like, hey, we got 5 Lombardis in the case, but not one of them is ours. We didn't bleed or sweat for any of those. There's what we've put out there hasn't worked. So, like Ronnie Lott cut his finger off. I don't want somebody to cut their finger off, but I definitely want a Lombardi in the trophy. So the Niners need to keep going in there with that mentality, like, hey, we got to go out, until we become champions. We're not right. That's the mentality. So if they go into the Eagles game and believe that it's their Super Bowl, kind of how like Dallas plays us like it's their Super Bowl, then I don't see us doing good. I think it'll be too emotional for us. Our head's not going to be in the right way. So again, if they go in and they just play Niner football, run the ball, or start passing and then grind out the clock later in the game, yeah, love it. I don't want to like put my fingerprint on any game and say this one for sure we're losing. But my games this year that I would say is not a good favor for us is the Pittsburgh game in the beginning of the season and the game on Christmas against the Ravens. That would be one loss on the road and one loss at home. I just want my kids to have a good Christmas. If the Niners don't win, okay. But if the Niners win and my kids don't have a good Christmas, I'm not going to be happy. You know what I mean? So I want to be around family and have a good day. And sure, I'd love the Niners to win. I hope they're not in a position where it's a must-win game for them. That's not fun. Especially on a holiday. But I definitely could see us. I definitely could see those being some challenging games. But as far as the bird hunt, yeah, I'd like to see us go through that and just sweep every one of them. Go 5-0 against the birds, but we'll have
Those
to.
are those are probably the two games where if the Niners lost, I would say are acceptable losses. If you lost to the Eagles and the Ravens, because those are two games where it's a coin toss. The other games, which I haven't looked, I'm not really focusing on the schedule right now, but the other games are games that you're favored in. So if you were to lose two games, or even if you were to lose one, the two games that I would say, okay, we lost those games. What can the Niners do better? But I accept it. Like I understand why they lost. Is if you lose to the Eagles and the Ravens, because both of those teams are good football teams, are really good football teams.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. So, it's been a little bit of time, having a lot of fun with you guys. We can go a little longer if you like, but I think it's always nice to keep it short, like we were talking about. Moving forward with the channel, we might expand it past 45 minutes, but for the last couple episodes, we've been keeping it to about 45 minutes. There's been a lot of great shows that come on afterwards, and right now they might be taking a hiatus or a break. So I think me and David might start trying to do our shows at 5:30, maybe 5:30 to 6:30 moving forward, and we'll just continue on. But Amin, thank you very much for coming on. Really do appreciate you. We can talk football all day. I imagine both of us can go back and forth. And
Yeah.
David, he already knows I can talk to him forever. So, what is there? Any updates, or is there anything that you would like to tell us about your channel going on in the future? I know you have a great panel as well. You got 3 other guys that collab with you. So do you mind telling us a little bit about what you guys got going on over there, and a little bit more about yourself before we get out of here?
So obviously we do the Straight Out of Bay show. It's kind of the off season, but me, Barry a Baller, Celts Chronicles, the Jay and the Bay, all phenomenal people. We do a show usually on Mondays. We do it every week. When the season obviously is there, but because it's kind of the off season, it's kind of been dry. We haven't been really doing it every week, but when some news happens or we have something to talk about, we do it every couple of weeks during the off season. But once the season starts, Straight Out of Bay is going to be back every Monday after Monday Night Football, hopefully. So make sure to tune into that. And then my channel, it's been hard for me to really, stream. Obviously, it's summer, so hopefully I get back into it. But, obviously because of school and now that I am in high school, first year of high school is really busy. Like, obviously when I thought middle school was tough, but then when you go into high school, you're like, okay, never mind. High school is a completely different level. So high school was really busy for me. I really didn't get a chance much to stream. throughout the year, but hopefully I'll get back into it soon. So, but it was definitely a pleasure to obviously talk football with you. I wouldn't mind doing this again. I could talk football with you guys for hours. It's a pleasure. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
Well, man, we're definitely going to try to do it again here soon because, yeah, me and David like having different people on from different parts of the world, different parts of the United States, the fans, the 49er fans. And, I'm sure sooner or later we might have somebody on, that's not a 49er fan, but we'll probably still have some 49er topics to talk to them about. But I do have a good question from Corey Davis before we let you go.
I was just about to say, can I answer Corey's question?
Oh, I'd love it, and I think he would too. We definitely would like to hear it. Corey, if you know the question, I'll just ask you.
I remember the question.
Perfect. Go for it.
I would say probably Trey Lance, right? That would be the obvious choice. Is Trey Lance? You look at with the Niners and everything that's been going on with him. Like, I would definitely love to meet Trey Lance. Ask him his thoughts on the team. Ask him what he thinks of these little, reports that are coming out about him. But I would just love to, get to know him and talk to him about him as a person also as well. Because you look at Trey Lance and his story, him being doubted, right? And like you kind of mentioned, Brian, when you were a kicker, right? And your mentality of when the world is against you, you kind of get that. And like I'm the same way. Like if you kind of, raise me up a little bit, you kind of get a little bit of confidence, and then you might, you might get that little bit get to your head. But when you have, that chip on your shoulder to, to prove people wrong, it kind of motivates you to do better and to, to silence the hater. So I would definitely want to, get to meet Trey Lance and ask him, because obviously going back to his high school days, not being a starting quarterback right away, getting his opportunity. He was also really good at basketball. Then obviously not getting any D1 offers, going to North Dakota State, having to prove himself there. And then obviously with the Niners, having to prove himself here. Now, we obviously don't know what his future will hold with this team or even in the NFL, but just to, get to know him as a person and hear his story, I would definitely say Trey Lance.
Yeah, I like Trey Lance. I really think it would be neat to meet him too. You know what I'd ask Trey Lance, and I have to do it before we leave. I'd have to ask him, and I'd love to ask you. That's why I got to do it. What do you think about this, man? I'd ask Trey if I could get in the car, if he could take me for a ride somewhere. I'd like to listen to some music in the car, hear his bass. I'm just telling you, this is a beautiful car. So if you don't know it, or if you've seen it on Twitter, this is Trey Lance's new ride. This is his whip.
That's that football money right there, man. As a rookie, obviously he's not a rookie anymore, but that's a nice car right there.
Yeah, it's a Mercedes Benz Maybach, and it's like 104,000. Oh my gosh, it's a nice car.
That's right.
Definitely a nice car. So,
well, at least he didn't get like $1 million Ferrari or something like that,
Yeah, he's thinking of the future, because it's got a back seat. Yeah. You might be able to put some kids or something back there.
That's the thing, though. Like, at least a car, you could use it every day. You could drive it. There's athletes that be spending like $100,000 on like a chain. And I'm like, if it's a chain, like it's nice. Like if you can afford it, you can go out and buy yourself $100,000 chain or $100,000 watch. Like that's cool. But it's not really, practical for a normal person. But if you could buy, a car, like $100,000 car, even though it's a lot, like, maybe for, me and you, but like, a car you could still use every day. But, a lot of these players nowadays, chains, watches, like that stuff isn't necessarily practical.
Yep, good point. Like Kurt Warner, he was a grocery store guy for a little while. Arena Football League guy, but he was driving around in a green Ford Expedition, I think it was, and I think he still had it when he was the St. Louis Rams quarterback for a period of time. I think he had it before he won the Super Bowl. So, it's like, hey, you gotta be comfortable. You gotta be able to just make it, and sometimes, you don't have the biggest or flashiest thing, but you know what, it works, so. And that's why a lot of people like Keanu Reeves. Not the biggest, flashiest, maybe not even the best movie star actor, but he's a down-to-earth kind of guy, So, shout out to, people being down-to-earth. And, hey, when you do make a financial decision, something like that, like you just said it, it's not a big old necklace. it's a car.
Yeah.
He can resell it. You know, I'm sure you can resell the necklace too. But I mean, like that car, he's gonna get probably more out of than just that picture with the bling on his neck. So
Even Adam Sandler, another guy who you see him at premieres and he's just wearing like a normal T-shirt and a hoodie, and you see these, obviously you see some of these guys with like $10,000 suits and whatever, and it's a suit, right? Like you can wear it to nice occasions, but how many times are you really gonna wear that suit? You might wear it once, maybe twice for maybe a premiere, one or two, or like in a party or whatever. But a car, things like that, or like even a house, like you could use that, and those are things that you use every single day and that are more practical. But as an NFL player, like if you can go out and afford that and you could do it, I mean, all the props to you. You earned it. If you want to spend your money in that way, go ahead. Like if you got the money.
But you make a good point because again, we've had a little bit of time to look at some good NFL careers that made a lot of money and now are bankrupt. And I'm don't quote me, but I want to say like somebody like Dan Marino had problems like that. There's other quarterbacks out there that's had money issues, players. So if you're in a situation where you can make money and then you can reinvest or you can buy something that you're going to be able to use instead of like spending thousands of dollars on shoes or a necklace. I mean, hey, more power to you, and to anyone else, to whoever you like. Hey, look, I bought a Jake Moody jersey. Okay, I don't spend my money on everything the right way either. Okay, so it's like it's what you like. But again, hey, thanks for coming, Amin. David, as always, love having you as my co-host. The chat was fire. Really appreciate it. Amin, if you didn't know, the new fire emoji is now being changed to the pineapple emoji.
Okay.
Shout out to George Kittle.
Yep.
Okay.
So have you seen the George Kittle YouTube commercial for his new apparel line?
No.
He's got a clothing.
I highly recommend you don't. Recommend you don't.
There's multiple commercials, so there's ones that are funny, and then there's ones that are maybe a little bit more risky. But he's got some clothes that's come out. They're called Chubbies, and there's been a couple of commercials that's come out. And the one that you see with the pineapple, you'll know you'll probably never unsee it. But,
that's why I'm saying I highly recommend you don't.
Shout out to the people in the chat. If you know, you know. If you don't, and you want to go look it up, hey, that might be my next big purchase. I might get me a pair of chubby shorts or something. I don't know, but shout out to everybody. Appreciate you guys, and please go follow us on Twitter and YouTube. Amin's a great guy. He's got a lot of content coming out, and the people he was talking about, Jay in the Bay, Rich Kelts Chronicle, and Bay Area Baller, Eric, great guys, do a lot of stuff with other people as well. So if you've just hearing about Amin, I hope you go follow him and keep following him because he's got a lot of great stuff out there. But with that, guys, thank you, and I'll hope to see you next time. Stay focused and keep your notifications on because we will be dropping some coffee cup raffle here soon. So I know I can't talk today. I'm so sorry, but basically, we'll have a contest. If you're subscribed to the channel, you'll get a chance to win a coffee cup, personalized coffee
cup. Subscribe, do it.
So appreciate you, and Amin, thank you again for coming on. We got to do this again.
Always a pleasure.
With that, guys, it's 49ers. We'll see you guys again. Thank you.
Go Niners.
David, we almost lost you there. You got to go ahead and say it again.
I don't know what's happening.
All right, let's go ahead and do it again. Go Niners and F the Rams, right?
That's right. F the Lambs.
That's David every time. All right, guys. Thanks for coming.